Noah Gregor looks like he's going to be in the top line again. Is it easier or harder to play with star players when you're a guy who plays in the bottom six?
Oh, hard, 100%. And it's just, it really comes back to how secure you feel about your game or how much more you think you need to change to accommodate better players. And it's a bit of a tug of war on how far you want to push the envelope to get them the puck or to make them feel like you belong. And I think I saw a little bit of that with Gregor the other day in New York, but there's no question that he's got tremendous speed and he can shoot the puck. And you just want to simplify it as much as you can without taking too much away from your star players. In New York, I had a chance to play with the great Alex Kovalev on a few occasions, and there'd be times when I thought I needed to come in and support him, and then he'd look at me and go away. I like my one-on-one situations here. I don't need your help. And I'm like, hey, okay, no problem at all. But that's really you got to have a secure feeling on how far you think you need to get to appease your teammates. And then sometimes every once in a while you got to look at your star players and go, hey, I'm dumping it in deep and I'm chasing it just to be on the safe side.
Love it. Kyper, thanks for joining us. I know you pampered TV guys sometimes struggle with the webcams and whatnot. So I'm glad you made her, but
just Justin Bourne and Elliot Friedman, not me.
Fair enough. Hey, I wanted to ask you, like we were talking before you got on here, like this team has a tendency to shit the bed against like Chicago. And then when their back's against the wall facing adversity, they got two guys out and their third string goalie and they're on a back-to-back and then they pull out one of their best games of the season. What is it about this group that constantly kind of goes against the grain in those odd ways?
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, I'll put the finger on the leadership group, Rosie, and say that, when you go into a situation against a lower opponent, that's when your stars have to pull the rest of the team up. And I look at, Austin Matthews in the last couple of weeks and his game's changed. I think his focus has changed. His effort has changed. And now he's starting to look like the great player that he is. And it's up to him, Mitch Marner, Morgan Riley, to put an end to all that, to say those days are over where we're giving up easy points to the likes of Montreal and Columbus and Arizona, although Arizona's been much better this year. But it has to be led by example. You want to see that same effort and intensity and focus out of Austin Matthews tonight than you did in New York.
It just, to me, it's hard to quantify why this continues to happen. Like, and maybe it's the unpredictability around this team. I mean, you guys play in the league, Kyper. Like, do you have any clue why this seems to happen to the Leafs, or is it something that we just look at because we cover the Leafs and it happens around the league?
Well, no, there's something wrong in terms of your prep or where you are mentally to play teams of a lesser caliber. And I think it's a maturity. I think at times, as great as we can talk about how special the talent is on the hockey club, there are signs of immaturity. And that's where, again, I mean, I'll go back to what I just said moments ago. That's where your leadership group has to grab the room right by the collar and say, not tonight, guys. We got to treat this as if it's a must win. We have something to prove here, that we are ready to go to the next level. And if they lay an egg tonight against Columbus, then they plant the seed of doubt in this hockey club for maybe the next couple of weeks. And they don't want to do that. I think they've made strides in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Austin has. Nylander has for the most part this season. Mitchell still score 100 points. Morgan looks better. Like, don't waste the 2 weeks by blowing it against Columbus tonight.
Agreed. Switching gears a little bit, Kyper, down the depth chart. Put your GM hat on or your coaching hat, whoever's making the decisions. If you're in charge, what is your plan with Ryan Reaves?
Ryan Reaves, I said it all along that there's no reason why you would think Ryan Reaves would be an everyday player. not at his age, not with the wear and tear. And yeah, there are times when he's slow out there, but you can certainly pick your spots on when to bring him in, and, just having the mere energy around him. And, it's been noted and well documented. This guy's energy just isn't on the ice. It's off the ice too. It's coming into a dressing room, Rosie. We've had those guys before where they just kind of lighten the room up. They bring the room up. You can feel their energy. You can feel their intensity. And they can make you more aware of stepping on the ice when something's on the line, i.e. he may be in a fight. He may be in a scrum. He may pull us in a dirtier situation than other players would. So I'm okay with spot duty on that. If he ends up playing 40 or 50 games, 55, good on you. And if it's to the point where a fourth line's rolling, Rosie, and you want to play him in game one of a Stanley Cup playoff round, yeah, he's shown he can do that too. But to sit there and say he's an everyday player, I think is unrealistic.
Kyper, I wanted to get your thoughts on Mitch Marner. It really, really has the feel, and you're tapped into this market as much as we are. Just the fan base seems to be souring on this guy a bit. Like, do you think his perception? You think the perception has changed? Like, people are pissed for some reason this year, eh?
Listen, I don't think anything's changed to the moment he was drafted. If you follow the narrative,
true,
on when he was drafted, and Babcock wanted a bigger defenseman instead of this little mousy prospect from the London Knights, then you will see a love-hate relationship with the Leaf fans and Mitch Marner for the last 6-7 years. I don't get it, to be honest with you. I think, and I've called him the engine of this team for a long, long time. I think he's a special player, and he'll be regarded as one of the greatest Leafs in history when it comes to producing points and being up there with the great leaders of the franchise like Darryl Sittler and Matt Sundin. But there has always been this love-hate narrative with him, and I think it started from day one with Babcock. But in saying that, I think what's also triggered it a little bit more, Nick, in the last little while is the Willie Nylander situation. And can you have two of them in your lineup making $11-12 million? Does one of them have to go? Mitch Marner has a bad game. He should be traded. He has a good game. He should be the one staying. Yeah. And this love-hate relationship will continue for Mitch Marner in this city. But you go back and you document his career over the last 6 years, it's been there since day one, and I don't get it for 1 second.
So being as they are what they are and what they've produced in the playoffs, let's say this year all those guys are still here and they don't get it done again in the playoffs. Say maybe they win a round and get swept in the second or something like that. Do you move forward with that core, or do you break it up? And if so, let's leave Tavares out of it. Who of those three are you unloading?
Well, first of all, Rosie, like rewind a year ago, we were having this conversation. Rewind almost 2 years ago, we were having this conversation. So is this the last? Is this the last kick at the can here with this core group outside of Tavares, as you mentioned? Listen, one of them will have to go. I honestly believe that. And, for me, Mitch Marner is more of a complete player than Willie Nylander. He may not be as totally naturally talented as Willie, and everybody needs a Willie Nylander in the lineup, but not to the expense where, you've shortchanged your blue line. I would keep Mitch Marner. But in saying that too, I really believe that with Mitch Marner and 2 years left on it, or 1 more year left on his deal, he might bring you a higher return if you traded him. He might bring 1 or 2 top 4 defense. He might bring you top blue chip prospects. I think the package to get more back is in the hands of a Mitch Marner than it is a Willie Nylander. But for a 200-foot player, the one that has a conscience for being third man high or coming back hard to defend, for me, it's Mitch Marner all day long I want to keep.
What's your read on the Nylander situation? It's very Shohei Ohtani where like nothing's coming out, which is crazy. Like it's so weird how like I wouldn't be shocked, Kipper, if something just flashed in the wire like on a Monday morning, we've re-signed Willie Nylander. Like it has that feel where nobody's saying anything, right?
Yeah, I get that feeling too, and I like him a lot too. I think he's taken his game to another level, and he has shown that he is a special talent for sure. Those soft games when he just doesn't show up are far and few compared to what we saw earlier in his career. But again, if you've proven that you cannot win with this type of recipe of all this money in your forwards, something has to give. And I don't believe one way or another yet, Nick, that they're at that point where it's like, okay, we'll sign him at any cost. 10 and a half, 11 and a half. Let's just give it to him. I don't think Brad Treliving's there yet.
So you went back and talked about this team taking it to the next level. Are you on board with this team? Do you like this team? Do you think they're going to go the distance?
Listen, what does the distance mean? Do I think they have got a playoff lineup to win 4 rounds for 2 months? No, I do not. Do I believe what I believed that before the season started, that they had a chance to win the Atlantic, or they had a chance to now put together another 100-point season in the standings? Absolutely. They've got some of the best game breakers in the world, and they find a way to show up with the last minutes of a game. And you cannot sleep on this lineup. You ask the New York Rangers, New York Islanders this week, you don't sleep on the Leaf lineup. But, and here's the but, is are they going to be that type of team that could take the Florida Panthers to a 7-game series and win and not get run out of the building? Not sure they have that lineup just yet.
Is there a player out there right now speculated upon or whatever that you think could be an ideal fit for this team leading up to the trade deadline?
Well, yeah, it's a top 4 type of D. It's Chris Tanev. It's David Savard in Montreal on the blue line. With the fact that Klingberg's salary is now off the books at 4.1, those are the type of guys that the Leafs need to add a real good layer. I watched Savard last night in Montreal, and big, strong, shutdown type of guy. Not sure Montreal would be ready to give him to the Leafs, but if the Leafs put together a nice package, I think it's very doable, especially where Montreal is at this point of their development. So that's the only focus here. Bertuzzo was out there, and he went to the Islanders for a 7th rounder, I believe. Mm-hmm. They don't need another guy like that. I think Benoit, Legason, they've done a nice job of filling in. They don't need another 6th, 7th, or 8th depth guy. They need 1 to 4 on the depth chart, and I think that's where Brad Treliving's focusing on.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.